Good morning, beautiful people of the internet, and welcome once more for our Sunday special property chat. As you can see, we have a massive vacant void of a hole in our lives this morning. Adam is unable to join us. He is, however, at a rugby match with his children, and I am sure they will be winning because with that kind of consistency, persistency, and action, you can do nothing else but succeed, especially in the long term. So today, as always, joined by Piotr Rysnek and Helen Chorley, we will be talking through some elements of Adam's Sunday supplement, which we'll normally provide in the chat. But if you're a regular viewer or reader, you'll know exactly where to find it. It'll be on the Partners in Property page on Facebook. Adam's LinkedIn profile and several billion other places because everyone shares it and loves it. Once we've done that, sorry,
we have a special guest.
The void's just been filled.
Yeah, the void's just been filled. She broke in essentially. Did you see her just opening up the door? No, you can't have that. That's not for eating, Bubba. It is, but you can't have any. Okay, hold the phone. So we're going to be going through Adam's consistency. Taking action will always lead you to some kind of success, and remember, never quit. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, and we'll also be talking through. It's going to be impossible to do. We'll also be talking through the challenge that I set yesterday.
Challenge, yes.
We've had almost 1,100 interactions on the challenge, but I think we're still around 20-ish guesses. So if you're looking, guess. If you don't know us, just guess, because at the moment, and I'm not afraid to say this, no one has the right answer. And I will extend that no one has the right answer, including to my two co-hosts here. So it's a really tricky one. So if you guessed once, feel free to guess again. It's not completely, it's not like a one guess thing. It's not like a pound to play or something like that.
And I think we're going to give a special award to someone who's going to guess correctly and also explain why they think this is that person or that chat or whatever.
But I'm also a big fan of maybe giving a prize, like a wooden spoon prize, to the person who got it so magnificently wrong. There's an element of it kind of, I feel like it's a bit of a carnival prize. I think that someone needs to get the wooden spoon. So I think that would be more of a judgment between the four of us who we think did so badly at this that they deserve 30 minutes with us, just for the sake of we need to find out why you thought that.
What if Piotr wins the wooden spoon?
At the moment, he's in the running for it based on his guessing. But
come on. We're not giving wooden spoon. We change our mind.
Don't be grumpy. Just you're in the win.
I'm
You're winning.
I'm gonna set up a fake profile who answers the same.
But just gives a really crappy example for each use. Okay, you would go through the effort for that. I believe that. I'm sold. I'm sold on that. But where do we find ourselves? The supplement, Helen. What did you think of the supplement? To be honest, I read through all of the economy stuff because it's not the fact that it doesn't mean anything to me, but he is really consistent with his thoughts and opinions. So I kind of read through that, and it made a great ton of sense. But I focused on the mindset-y bit, which I'm a really big fan when he does that.
I love it when he does that. But I really read deeply the Bank of England stuff because I love his thoughts and his interpretation on it. And I did have a little internal squeal when I read the part about mispriced risk in property. I was like, oh, you're talking my language. No,
that was
really,
for the BMV stuff, right?
Sorry?
That was when he was talking about. That's when he was talking about BMV and how people perceive it.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. But he talking about a couple of questions in the Bank of England meeting that he went to this week, and there was a really good question asked by somebody else apparently at the meeting about if the inflation that we're seeing at the moment, and he has talked about the inflation, the language in their reports changing that they're no longer talking, as he has been doing for 2 years, as we have been doing for 2 years, about it being transient inflation, like this is here to stay because all the pressure is still to the upside. But he talked that there was a question about if the inflation that we're seeing is being cost push driven by prices, then usually interest rates aren't the instrument to tackle that with. So why are they continuing to take the action that they're taking? Really good question. And the answer given, I think, well, I don't know, maybe it's my interpretation or reading between the lines, but they have to be seen to be doing something. So that is worth a good little read. And the mention of risk.
A bit of risk. I kind of read that bit, and I was thinking to myself, people have been talking about there being a recession this year. And I was talking to somebody, I think I met them, I had a couple of meetings in London on Thursday. So I met them, and this is a really smart chat. And we obviously get onto the subject of it because it's the area that he's in terms of finance and looking at these things and global models and blah, 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 stuff that really is above me, probably above most people. But and I was sitting there thinking, well, how far away are we from a technical recession, which is obviously 3 quarters of negative growth? He said, well, it's going to be really very difficult. What's that? 2. Sorry, I thought it was 3, but it's 2. That's the weirdest way to say 2. That is that the Polish 2? Because most people would be doing 2, or no, don't do that again. 2. Okay, so it's 2 quarters of negative growth, right? That's the technical recession. He said it's going to be really difficult to show a negative point in GDP with 10% inflation, because the inflation is measured in with the GDP. Because it's inflated by 10%. I mean, artificially. So he said it's going to be difficult to see that run on, because any loss that you're going to see in the GDP has to be a loss plus 10 almost, right? Because everything's inflated. And he said that's difficult. He said why we may not see a technical recession, we're definitely in a practical recession. People are feeling recessionary kind of pressures. So he said, it's maybe best not to focus too much on that one metric of it being 2 months of negative GDP. Thank God Piot's here, like a right idiot without him. 2. That I'm doing 2 like this now. This is fuck you. This is 2. Yeah, 2. So yeah. I mean, it's interesting, but I think he's right. They've kind of capped it at that 10%. It was on a bit of a runaway. They've managed to contain it. I'm pretty sure they don't think by increasing interest rates by another 3 or 4% is going to help in real terms. So they have to start thinking about other things. But they're not really left with many other tools, are they? They basically have either helicopter funds to throw into in institutions and constitutions, or they have helicopter funds to float into people and hope that it works its way up instead of working its way down.
Helicopters always,
which in and of itself is inflationary. So
they need to have more of a Hoover thing.
They need to do something else
out there.
I tell you what they need to do. They need to give people the feeling that they're in a position where they can save and they can spend. And at the moment, they're not doing that because petrol is so pricey at the moment still, and people are still, the demand for it is still outstripping supply. That's an inflationary metric, right? When demand outstrips supply, you inflate the value of the supply. And it's the same thing with energy bills. It's the same thing with bank rates and all these other things. It's the same thing with rents. These things, they're not just 1 or 2 marginal things that affect 5 or 10% of the population. This affects 100% of the population, and it inflates the markets unnecessarily. And they could put in tax breaks, not just for people, but for bringing these things into the country. They could reduce the rates, ease the cost of the supply across the population, and that will reduce the inflationary metrics. But they've made it clear on several occasions. I'm assuming the fuel and fossil fuel companies lobby quite hard with suitcases filled with you know, unnumbered barrel bonds or whatever. But they're not going to do that. It'll be interesting to see what they do throw at it, because, you know, their standard inflation recession tools are helicopter TARP funding, which won't work here, and rate rises, and they're going to get to a point where they can't raise the rates any higher. I mean, maybe they've got one or two more hits at 0.5%, 0.25% left, but beyond that, it becomes harmful.
Well, it's interesting what Adam said as well in the supplement, that actually, you know, the data and the numbers are announced, and then, but there's always revisions to these things. And actually, looking at the recession, that if the number that was produced 0.1 growth, if that's reduced even down marginally, then you're already in negative growth. So we could actually technically be in a recession already.
Yeah.
I hadn't realized it was that marginal till I read that this morning.
Well, he made some really good, before we get onto the persistence bit, which I think we'll probably settle on for a little too long, because we'll be persistently making our points until we run out of steam. But the point that you mentioned, where he said, you know, people aren't calculating risk correctly. When they were talking about BMV, he was making the point that he hears people say, "Oh, if you're buying something BMV, you know, you're screwing someone over, or you know, all of these different things." And he's like, "No, you're not calculating the risk correctly." I mean, for instance, without naming any locations or specifics, we were sent a deal so we work with certain cash buying companies, people that we think are credible and that we like working with, etc. And we were sent a deal which was an existing car garage on a decent site. So you've got the car garage here, you've got a row of residential up here, and you've got a pub here. Now that may narrow down car garages to 1 in 1,000 in the country. It's not really going to help too much. But
it's in England.
It's in England. That helps. It's in England. And it had, in 2016, it had planning permission for 6 flats.
That narrows it down to 2.
That narrows it down to 2. Now, clearly, the planning has lapsed. So the person who's looking to sell this has basically said, "I would like £800,000 for this site." So the GDV is, you know, just to flex the numbers a little bit so no one can get too specific, it's about £2 million GDV. But as opposed to 2016, the site no longer has planning. It has former planning. So there's planning risk that you have to bake into this £800,000. And the build costs has gone up, and the labour costs have gone up. Everything has gone up, but including property values since 2016, property values have gone up. So there's
and
that.
interest rates and cost of money.
And interest rates and cost of money, right? So we looked at this and we said that we think the GDV is close to 2 million. It's going to cost £800,000 to build this out, you know, with fully done, all the works that you need. It's going to cost about £800,000. Just double
the funding.
Yeah. And then you've got funding. Then you have to do these reports. You know, any conversion work and building work now, you've got to do like an environmental report for something or other. So you've got to do that. There are so many things that you now have to do. In addition, someone's going to want to have £400,000 profit as a developer, right? You're going to want your 20%, and that's in today's market. That's a tight margin. So you take from the 2 million, the 800,000 build cost. You take the 400,000, you're at 1.2. Now there's £800,000 left. There's no planning on this site.
And it's not as easy to sell the end units as it was before, like with the Help to Buys and other things. So.
Yeah. So you're looking at a slightly restricted market. It's next to a pub, albeit we did a search on a pub. It's got like 4.8 stars. It's more of like a gastro style pub rather than a piss up pub. So it's nice. And it doesn't back right onto the pub. There's a car park, so there's a bit of distance. So it's okay. And we went in for, we offered anywhere between 350 and 400 on that site, because at the moment all it is a disused car garage.
Right.
So someone could turn around and say, you know, you're offering this guy half of what he's wanting. Well, what he's wanting isn't reflective of where the market sits at the moment. It's not reflective of the risk of the capital at work. It's not reflective of the work required to make this now hope value, which was added value. It was added value at one point. This hope value, added value. So there is time, cost, and risk involved in that. And no one really takes that on board when they hear, oh, you got something for this price, you must have mugged somebody off. The reality is no. We just have to share what the risks are, where we sit in the market at price point, and it's for them to make a decision. You know, there's no guns held to heads. There's no aggression. It's kind of like, we are here. We will buy it. You know, we act with the best intentions possible. But we're in a position now where we can't look at properties and put marginal costs in place. We can't, because a marginal cost, a 10% trade for us, can be wiped out with Liz Truss getting re-elected, or you know, Prince Charles dying like his mother did. You know, it's those little things there knock out traders' profits in a heartbeat.
And like explaining this in such a way, like gets people an idea of why this is the way it is. And now I can like draw the parallel between, like, you know, like when the sharks sell the courses, they say like, oh, this is 20,000 and it consists of this and this, and value is £1 million because this is 5, this is 10, and then like break it down, and then by the end you're like, yes, it is.
But I mean, these development ones are tricky. So we always kind of put down, like, we always stay with the GDV. These guys haven't argued. Yeah, like your GDV is there or thereabouts. You know, maybe you're being a little conservative. It's like, well, we're fair to be conservative because it's got to be built out, etc. But with regards to the cost, they were completely out. Like the seller was like, no, it'll cost no more than 500,000 to build it out. And I was like, okay, well, find a quote. Not just one, find 3 quotes from genuine
and even the quotes can change. Like
even the quotes and every like, quote.
Even if you had a quote of 500, even like I know some builders, and they will produce one quote, and then they will say, "Oh, use those 2 builders for other quotes," and those quotes will be off, on purpose, blah blah. Yeah. So it's not even how do you say it? It's not even a good reflective good metric. Like you probably need to employ someone like a project manager, not project manager, but like quantity surveyor who will break it all down, and then based on that, some builders can produce quotes, but also the quantity surveyor gives an estimate what he thinks those things will be, because that's super important.
She tried to break in. She's just, if she's on her tiptoes,
yeah,
storms in. There we go. We're dressed now. We're out of our pajamas.
Oh bless. We're getting a practical demonstration of Adam's persistence theme today.
Yeah, when she gets it, I think she kicks it with her foot because every door she opens flies open. Come to say hello. You going for breakfast? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, I heard breakfast. I'm off. You're off? Bye.
Bye.
Nice.
She's a cannonball. She really is. Just bullies herself everywhere. It's brilliant. I don't know, completely off topic. Did anyone see the post I put out? Now she's trying to close the door. She's very helpful. I put a post out yesterday. Claudia and Abby went to the zoo.
At the zoo? Oh my God, it was so cute.
And she basically just went up to this random old lady on a mobility scooter and just jumped on, and the mobility lady took her for a little ride. She's just a little bully. She's just got a big smile. She'll go up, she waves, and she was literally sitting in the middle holding on to it while the woman took her around for a couple of laps. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's consistency.
Bless her.
You need to take her to some property viewings.
That's like, it. Yeah.
Get her to convince some garage owners to sell them for 400
for a realistic price. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost we got one from another cash buyer that we work with, and part of the seller's entreaty to us to be paying quite a lot of money for this pub and this flat was the fact that the pub is literally in the arse crack of nowhere. It's like a proper old country pub that obviously has failed because no one goes
in a village of like 60 people.
But they're all multi-millionaires, so you know you're going to have a market for something. Well,
just stick a sign on the pub and let them buy it then.
Or you know, just charge overprice everything in the pub and they'll feel like they're getting value because they're paying more, right? But it's like, no, that's not how it works. I mean, if a couple of millionaires are interested in buying a pub and running one, they call you. You know, so we get told all sorts of things to kind of inflate and vary the price and make us feel like there isn't a risk at certain points in how you would value an asset. So it happens a lot, and we know quite a few, not just traders, but some of the cash buyers that are in the BMV market, where sellers have actively misled them, and they've been stuck with something that they've had to fix because they move quickly. You know, they'll move from exchange completion in under a week for the most part. They don't get the chance to do all of the data-backed due diligence that most people will be able to do. They don't get the searches, they don't get this, that, and the other. Yeah. Sometimes they won't get access for a valuation or a viewing. So they really are taking a lot of risks. So, you know, and they have to put that BMV value at a point where if it goes wrong, this is the margin for it to go wrong, and there's still some margin at the end for them to trade again. So yeah. Adam knows quite a few of those people and definitely is given the odd lead here or there, or probably more than that. So he's definitely aware of how that market reacts. So I thought it was a really interesting part of his Sunday supplement to kind of expand on that.
Yes. Well, shall we talk about our competition?
Yeah.
Is this the time? Is this? Or have we still got the persistent part to discuss?
I think we've got some persistency to talk about. What did you think of? I mean, what did you think of what he was talking about on persistency? Because I think this kind of came off the conversation that he'd met somebody that he kind of looks up to, very similar paths, very similar backgrounds. But the reaction to all of those things is completely different, right? How he is versus how this guy is. And he said, I wish I had that conversation 20, 25 years ago. Yeah. And he was talking about how this person has basically said, I'm here because I persisted through X, Y, and Z. And then Adam was like, okay, I'm here because I persisted through X, Y, and Z. And they started talking about how persistence was the key to getting any sort of success or any kind of results that can be measured. And just kind of thought, well, maybe it was a case of us just talking about what we thought about persistence. I mean, I did a whole post on LinkedIn about it, just off the back of his kind of shared his article and was talking about persistence and kind of likened it to quotes, but without kind of being too tropey. You know, some people are kind of like, oh, you're just saying that, you know, fall down 6 to 7 times, get up 8. You know, that's not a trope. That's a mantra that a lot of people are like, okay, this has gone wrong. What do I do now? I get back up and I try again. I carry on. These are, you know, if you're minimizing them to tropes, then they're not going to work for you. But if you reframe them as mantras, something that when things get difficult or something goes wrong, or you find yourself starting back from zero, which you never do, you start back at the very beginning, but your knowledge, experience, and everything else is plus 10, right, or whatever. It's that bit that kind of tells you this is natural, this happens. You know, there are thousands of these quotes, and I put one in there from Nelson Mandela, one from Pele, one from Winston Churchill, one from Thomas. These are people that have faced failure. I mean, you only have to look at Winston's life before World War II, abject failure. But, you know, he barely got in, and let's not forget World War II wasn't necessarily a success. If you can class the end of a war a success, some people will, some people won't. But, you know, these are people that go through this stuff on a regular basis and still stand up and say, you just have to push through it. There is no giving up. And there's obviously quotes about the moment you give up, you were an inch from success. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things. You gave up at the toughest part before it came off. And it's always, you know, those points are always the points where it feels the easiest to give up.
Well, I would say you could be like a priest or like a rabbi, and like if those Sunday motivational
sermon,
like
the
sermons.
sermon.
Adam as a supplement, and you could have your sermon, Sunday sermon, according to Jane.
But you know, I believe this. I believe that it's necessary, right? I mean, you know when things go wrong, and you know that you can sit there and be absorbed by it and just kind of be complacent and do this, that, and the other. Enough stuff has gone wrong in my life. Enough stuff has gone wrong in everybody's life, right? To be honest, everyone's gone through some degree of hell or some level of shit, and they've scraped themselves through. And obviously there are those that don't get through that. You know, people, you know, unalive themselves all the time because they don't know that there is, even when it all fails, it all feels hopeless. There is something on the other side of that. There is that kind of persistency. There's that breaking through those barriers, which is really painful. It's really difficult to just kind of, you have to summon a bit of strength. And these kind of quotes, these mantras, for me, they're very helpful. They're really helpful to just kind of look at it and go, right, okay, I'm not going through this. It's just something that's happening. Yeah. And it's something that if I work through, I'll get to the other side of, and there will be a result. It may be less of a result than what I hope for. It may be the exact thing I'm hoping for. It very rarely is. Or it may be the better than what I hope for. And, you know, the more you work, the greater luck you create for those exponential results to come at the end. But yeah, and I kind of forestalled the post by saying, you know, these sound like tropes, but treat them as mantras, because it all gets difficult. You know, the amount of people that during COVID were talking about, oh, this is the end of X, this is the end of Y. We're talking about the end of content creation with AI, right? So we'll move on to this in a bit, but it's not. And one of the things that we can say about this challenge that every single human being has said when they try to guess who's who, every single person has identified who the chatbot is. That's the one thing everyone has right. They picked the chatbot. Now, unfortunately, the question kind of tied and gagged the chatbot, because the chatbot can draw information from the past and make assertions and do X, Y, and Z. Chatbot cannot yet, or chat GPT cannot yet predict the future. So by asking it to look into the future, it's only going to be super general. So the question definitely tied the chatbot's arms, right? But then that shows you the content you need to be putting out there isn't reflective. And if it is, it needs to be human reflection, not on numbers and principles. It needs to be reflections on what you are going through as a person and how you see that affecting the future.
Yeah, I was listening to some conversations about those OpenAI ChatGPT things, and like one of the like technical guys, he was saying like for example, if Microsoft, Facebook, and Google all produce those kind of machine learning things, like if this machine learning thing gets exactly the same data, like they'll come up with exactly the same thing. But if there's like one piece of data and 1 billion data points different, the answers will be different, because there will be a different pool to draw from. And I think like as people with like totally different experiences, even if we lived in the same places, the same times, and there would be like similar things, but there will be more than one thing that's different, or the way we see things will be different. And I think it's always going to make a massive difference.
Well, this is one of the scary things about AI, right? Because human thinking, from you as a child to where you are now, your thinking, the way you see things, perceive things, react, act, do all these different things, is a product of all the interactions you've had from zero to where you are now, right? So your brain is a machine learning.
Even before.
Or maybe even before. Yeah, well, yes. Oh, God. It's too early for that kind of sexy talk. Or even before then, like, right? The kind of, yes, exactly. But this is what makes these individual AI bots different, because people are going to be asking them different questions, And even if you ask the same chatbot roughly the same question, you may position the question in 3 or 4 different ways. So the machine is going to learn how to answer these questions in different ways. So those derivations at this point are tiny. But as it grows and grows and grows, they exponentially move outwards.
But also, if you ask ChatGPT exactly the same question that you ask, what's the future of buy-to-let in 2023, the second time will give you a different answer.
Yeah.
Well, I asked it 3 times.
Oh.
I asked it 3 times, and I picked out of the 3 the one that was. I mean, everyone's picked which one ChatGPT is, so you've all got that. That's a freebie for everyone. You now just have to pick who wrote the other 4. That's easy. You know us. This is the easy part. But everyone's picked who, and I picked the one that had the least errors, because obviously quite a bit has changed since 2021, which is where ChatGPT is kind of restricted up to. So everyone's going to be able to pick out the 1 or 2 things that don't really apply anymore or aren't as correct as they were in 2021. But I think the way that a human being can extrapolate out and attempt to predict the future outside of a mathematical algorithm, that's what separates us at the moment. Our own individual experiences, how we see them, how we interpret them, and how we kind of reflect on them, that's something that an AI can't do. So if you are a content creator, or you're looking at how is content creation going to survive, those are 2 very clear ways that I think you will be very easily able to identify whether one was written by an algorithm-driven AI and one that was written by a human being, because they can't mimic exactly yet. So whilst they have that, disadvantage, you should really, I don't think a chat could write one of Helen's posts, because Helen's posts are always really very specific to Helen in Helen's own way. You can ask a chat to write me a post about horrific Tinder dating stories in the style of Helen Chorley, and the chat still wouldn't get it.
But
it would miss out the emojis. It would miss out.
I think if you gave ChatGPT access to Helen's Instagram and LinkedIn over the last year, it will be pretty accurate.
It would give it a go, but I think it would miss something. Do you know what my point is? It would miss a human spark.
Yeah. I did feel very restricted. I found it quite challenging to not include emojis in my text. It felt wrong.
Yeah.
No.
So onto the challenge.
No
one has it right. No one has it right yet. So the question is, who is Sigma? Who is Lambda? Who is Omega? Who is Alpha? And who is Gamma? Those are the 5 authors.
The real question is, who is Alpha?
Who is Alpha?
It's very...
I really want to know, maybe we have like a debrief after we've announced the winner when we've decided that, but how you assigned the names to the people, because there's only who did all of them. And I was like, I wonder how he chose what order to put them in, and I wonder how he assigned the name to each of us. I wondered if there was any clues in that.
Why did you not choose Omicron?
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, that I can't give that away, because that would give away a fair bit.
Not yet.
But you've raised 2 very good points, and there was a great deal of thought that was put into that. Now, for myself and Piotr, there is an inside joke with that. So Piotr very easily should have been able to pick out who wrote at least 2 of those articles, and he didn't.
I didn't expect you to put that much thought into this.
Yes, because that's so against how I normally operate. Like that. I mean, talk about backing the wrong horse. Oh God! Wait. Oh my God! I just looked behind me and I thought, why can't I see the hammered thing? And Abby's left me a little kind of handprint thing.
Oh,
I was sitting there thinking, oh, it's on the back and the front. Wow! I was sitting there thinking, what's that? Oh dear.
Oh, okay. So basically, I posted the link to this to your article with all the various articles. It's to your post with various articles. So, what do people need to do? Okay.
People need to comment who they think. You know, if you think Sigma is, well, I mean, everyone has said Sigma is Chat GPT, and I've said Sigma is Chat GPT. Now you just have to figure out who the rest of us is. Who's Lambda? Who's Omega? Who's Alpha? And who's Gamma? So we have written these articles, and as you can tell, Adam, Piotr, and Helen have no idea who the other authors are. They know who they are. They don't know who the others are. Well, actually, no. In our private chat, Piotr did tell everyone who he is, which has ruined the game somewhat, but no one else knows. So
I think we have to give a shout out to Dominic, because he gave us his guesses and we got a whole analysis of why he thought so.
Now we've seen in great detail how wrong he was. Now, Dominic, don't do this to yourself. Don't do it. Just go back, try again, read him again, and think again. You got this. And if you guessed once, guess a second time, because no one has guessed yet. You're not wasting your time by reading through them and making a guess, because no one is correct yet.
Like fully correct.
Fully correct. Well, I mean, there's either right or wrong. At the moment, everyone is wrong because they haven't got.
Well, there's a spectrum of wrongness.
Oh, you know what? There's for you. There's a spectrum of wrong. For me, no. I always say, "Well, I was right about this." He goes, "No, it's wrong. It's wrong." There is no spectrum. You get all 5 right, or it's not right at all. So we'll keep going. You got until Monday midday. We will announce who the winner is and who the spectacular loser is. So the spectacular loser will get the same prize as the winner. But the winner gets to choose who they get their 30-minute session with first. So the loser will be left with...
Let's not call them spectacular losers.
Oh, come on.
That would be the
I thought that's what that symbol was.
Before. Yeah, I thought that's what it was as well, rather than
and the second
weirdest
place.
2. Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
Dominic's asked a good question. Should we share his question?
It's fun.
He did, yes, he did. Not only did he get it right, but he was also really very boastful about it. So maybe that's a clue for everybody. You can walk away with that one. So everyone now should be able to get Chat GPT.
I wouldn't interpret it that way, Jay. I think
no.
I just left a lot to imagination.
Oh, you left tons to imagination. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Until midday Monday. If no one gets it right, then we will do another article challenge.
No. Please someone get it right.
You have no idea how much effort it took to get Piotr to write this bloody article. If no one gets it right, not next week, the week after, so in 2 weeks' time, there will be another Chat AI versus the 4 of us challenge. And if no one gets it right, it just keeps rolling on. Wow. And then what happens we'll keep going, and we'll take 5 minutes off the consultancy every single time we have to do this. Until you basically get a 5-minute phone call with one of us going, "This is pathetic. You should."
Hey, why are you torturing us?
Oh, I love this.
Okay, brilliant. Well, let's see how things are gonna go, and let's see if someone's gonna get mine right. And why? Yes,
you will get absolute gold points if you not only got the answers correct, but why you came to those answers. So it's like a maths exam. You have to show your workings out if you want to get full marks, or at least that's what I'm told.
Brilliant. Piece of news.
Oh.
Purplebricks have got massive losses. Surprised?
And this time they've put themselves up for sale.
Yes.
But this isn't the first time they've intimated that they will be putting themselves up for sale.
I wonder if they're going to use an agent or they're going to go online.
or if they're going to put all the fees on the buyer. You can buy us, but it's going to cost you 50 million in fees.
Be £700.
Gosh. Oh, look, back in, was it 2018 or 2019, they were spending £2 million a month on advertising.
Wow.
That's and that's what their investors were putting into their business, £2 million a month. TV, radio, advertising, billboards, electronic and print, 2 million a month.
Wow.
And they took a massive share of the market, and they have lots of local experts with a self-serve solution for sellers. And obviously, if you're the seller of the same property, if you don't sell and you go back to them a year later, they don't get a second fee. It's like that's a lifetime fee for whilst you own that property. So it sounded really attractive, and they got a lot of kind of, was it 695s or 995s, which was like the marketing onboarding fee that you pay once. They got loads of those, but when it was clear that they couldn't sell a fart in a bag, they've been struggling ever since. Then they started doing their online auctions, and obviously
they sold that off, right?
Yeah,
that bit was sold off.
Yeah, they sold it off to Go to Auctions. Yeah. And now Go to Auctions are now doing some stuff with I Am Sold. So, because people think that agency fees are expensive, and it's not cheap, but it's an expensive business to run.
Well, it is if you're spending £2 million a month on advertising.
Well, I mean, for them, yes, but I mean, if you're talking about
and I guess it's risky as well, because it's all based mostly on success, and not every property transaction is successful.
Yeah.
And also, getting things from start to finish is not easy. I get solicitors who, like this one solicitor friend who's like, yeah, you agents always make money. We solicitors never do.
No, you solicitors always make money.
Like make regular streams and stuff. And I don't know how solicitors exactly make money, because I don't I've never really thought about that business model. But I guess solicitors are way more regular, because once they do, for example, I don't know, property transaction, then someone comes to them with some other thing that might not be property related, but might be, I don't know, creating a will or doing some other things, or there's so many other streams that once you're in that solicitor's ecosystem, you'll probably stay there. I don't know, you're getting divorced, you're probably going to use their friendly solicitor lawyer or something like that. It's I don't know, there is something you need to do, you probably use them. But with agents, it's only that one thing. Kind of is that. I don't know. Could be another discussion. Could be another article.
Could be. Oh, there you go. So by midday Monday, if no one has all 5 authors to the correct article, there'll be. And bear in mind, Piotr's like, why are you torturing us? This means torturing him, not you. This is an issue for Piotr.
But now you motivate people to get the wrong answers and punishing us.
There is that.
No. I call BS. Most of the people that we know.
Okay, you do call BS.
Like I call BS. How many people do you know in our circle that don't like winning? That don't like being correct? We're talking about. And the reality of the situation is, if someone gets this correct, and there's a whole bunch of public pressure to do it again, guess what's going to happen? We're going to do it again. You can pretend otherwise, but you're just fooling yourself, Mr. Rysunek. I guarantee you you know how auctions work, right? That people compete to win the asset because no one likes to lose. People are going to compete to get this thing right because they want to spend 30 minutes talking about risk with Helen, or 30 minutes talking about how to build a portfolio with Adam, or 30 minutes on how to stack difficult BMV deals with Piotr, or 30 minutes on a swear-a-thon with Jay Howard talking about how shit the world is.
I want to win that.
People want. Yeah, this is what people want. Give the people what they want.
Wow. Jay's on fire today. He's turning into a radical.
Yes, yeah.
Give people what they want. Nice.
I did a post a number of days ago, which I thought was a risky post because I thought 90% of people reading the post won't know the word that I've used, and the ones that do will think I'm being some kind of anarchist revolutionist, so people can go back on my Facebook and my Instagram to see if they can recognize that post and whether they agree with me or not. Ooh. But today I'm not being an anarchist. You even like the post, Helen. You like the post. You're one of the 4 people that like the post. When I get a little bit too cerebral with my posts, the interactions drop through the floor. It's like 4 or 5 people that look at it and go, that's a word I can decipher.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
The Helen's focus. I love this.
So we just moved from...
I'm looking for it now because I remember it. God, this is a reflection of my memory at the moment rather than I'm looking for it. I don't think I commented though. I'm going to go back and comment.
Yeah, I think it was. It should have copied over onto Instagram, but now I'm seeing if it did. So it was a post. I didn't realize there was. It's okay. There is no time for latibulation or to be latibulating.
Oh, yes.
Rise up, rise up.
Yes, I did look at it and I thought it was an excellent choice of little GIF thing as well. Yes.
That was my Homer Simpson GIF one. The reason that didn't go onto Instagram was obviously because it was a GIF from Facebook, so it didn't translate over. But there you go.
I did.
Points for anyone who knows what that word means.
I'm doing a PR, so I'm having to look up what the
I gave up already.
I thought it sounded much fruitier than the actual meaning.
That's why I put it there, because latibulation sounded almost kind of like something you'd find in a Greek orgy 3,000 years ago, but it's not. So, but it has that tibulation, doesn't it? And you think, I could go for some tibulation. Put me in for 3 orders of tibulation. I mean, let's do it.
And a little sprinkling of titillation as well.
Just a Helen, you're giving too much away. Titillation's the way forward.
Wow. What this chat turned into.
Well, you let me talk for too long, so it was a matter of time.
Okay. Brilliant. So we're not interested in talking about purple bricks, no? Definitely not. There's not enough tibulation in that.
Not enough titillation.
Titillation.
Yeah, look, the challenge is out there. You have 26 hours pretty much. Midday tomorrow. Got time. You can win this.
Yes.
At the moment, Piotr's winning the wooden spoon, and he really shouldn't. Someone else should come up with an absolutely terrible suggestion as to who wrote which article. And you will be rewarded handsomely for being terrible. There's nothing more,
but
left-wing and taking part counts in this.
How am I winning wooden spoon if I got 2 people right?
Yeah, but the fact that you got the rest wrong in your privileged position means that you've made the worst guess so far. Sorry. I mean, the rules.
It's got a point, Piotr. I'm with Jay on this.
Yeah. As is the whole of social media.
I say it from the privileged position of not actually having registered my guess.
Okay. All right.
I'm with Jess has commented on Facebook, Jess McCauley. I thought I wouldn't be able to answer. I'm like, yeah, that's where I am, Jess, and I really should.
Got to give it a go, Jess. Got to give it a go.
One, Jess.
We all know you want 30 minutes consultancy with Piotr. So here's your chance. This will be a freebie.
Oh, amazing. So I think let's wrap up. If we're not going to talk purple bricks, let's see what's going to happen with them till next week. If someone's going to buy them, if it's going to be a spectacular BNB transaction.
Spectacular.
Or not. We'll keep monitoring the situation. Brilliant. Dorothy's still saying that she's still clueless about who is who.
Keep going, Dorothy.
Give it a go. Give it a go.
Ed put a comment on, I think it was the LinkedIn bit, but
no wooden spoon, please.
Ed did say that we'd kind of, maybe some of us had kind of changed our writing a little bit too, and I think we did to make it not too obvious,
to average it out.
But that makes it all the more interesting, right?
Absolutely.
I think most of you guys took away the edges that make you interesting, and you blend it into this averageness.
Wow.
That's why it made
you say that, but very few people very few people have put you in your correct article. So I wouldn't be too Mr. You changed too much. Like, the amount of people that have put you in the right places is nowhere near enough for it to be no. Silence is your best friend in this situation, Mr. Isn't it?
How many words have you used, Jay, in that article that need to be Googled? Exactly.
Several.
Yes, several. Yeah, I'm saying, like, for English person.
What we would normally put in an article. But yes, but it's a challenge. Now it's challenging. It's going to make people think.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, guys.
With the rest of your Sundays, get ready for the week to come, and remember, persistency is your friend.
Could not finish better. All right, guys. Have a good Sunday. Bye.
Have a good Sunday.